Welcome back to Seen It Before with our newest series, Duel of the Debates. This is episode 3. Let's introduce our fighters.
Hi, I'm Danny.
Hi, I'm Miguel.
How's it going? I'm John.
Hi, John.
Hi, Miguel.
The second take
Hi,
we did.
Miguel. All right. Anyway, so and I'm Dan. I'm just here. I'm the
Hi,
director.
Dan.
What is this? AA? Anyway,
Wait, not to say hi back.
no.
Disrespect Miguel much?
Unbelievable.
Hi, Miguel.
Hi, Dan.
There we go.
All right, guys. Let's introduce your movies. Danny, what are you doing?
Well, first of all, the question is best horror movie of from 2010 to 2022, which is the present. My movie is Hereditary.
My movie is A Quiet Place Part 1.
And my movie is Halloween 2018.
Cool.
All right, guys. So you got 2 minutes to debate why you think it's the best movie. Then afterwards, you got a minute to a minute and a half rebuttal. And then there's a free-for-all. So let's duel, everyone. Starting with Danny.
All right. So Hereditary is my movie. I think a horror movie's objective is to scare the audience, and I was certainly horrified at watching this movie, not because it's bad, but because it's one of the best horror movies I have ever seen, in my opinion. It's produced by A24, who's known for putting out hit after hit after hit when it comes to horror movies. Men just released. That's another good horror movie that was good. I was told I can't use God as an example, even though I saw this with her. The subject matter is relatable and twists the familiar into something horrific. It's a family drama first. So that's what this movie is. It's something more than just a horror movie. It's elevated horror. It tells a story of family drama, family grief, and it elevates it in such a manner that it twists the mundane into something that you could never imagine in the first place. The horror elements only add to the drama. We start off in a low place, and instead of going the predictable route of showing ups and downs, the horror movie, and then overcoming their problems, they don't. It only gets worse for them, and that's such an interesting place to go. It's refreshing. Much like Infinity War said with having the heroes lose, that's what happens in this horror movie. And a lot of horror movies tend to have the villain or the hero win, especially with your two movies that you picked, Quiet Place and Halloween 2018. So it's genius because halfway through you discover that there really isn't any way out of the situation, and you just have to sit with them.
30 seconds.
And what is going to happen to them, and you're just dreading it. It's like Revenge of the Sith, where you don't want Anakin to turn, and he still turns anyway. I mean, you know that's coming, and they still just happens. Alex Wolff has an amazing performance. Toni Collette was robbed of an Oscar on this one. A lot of people say that she deserved it that year. We actually even mentioned it in one of our podcast. We did an Oscars podcast a couple years ago where we said, yeah, Toni Collette deserved it for this movie. Cinematography
That's
works.
it.
Okay.
I gave you a couple extra seconds for the self-promo. Hey, go check out Seen It Beforecast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Spotify. And we're moving on to Miguel.
Oh, hold on. First things first. Danny mentioned Men being good. I did not hear Men was good.
When are men good? Let's be honest.
Yeah, fuck that.
That is kind of the point of the movie.
I haven't seen it yet, but
I haven't either.
All right. Anyway, now moving on to Miguel. Yeah, here we go.
Wait. Hi, Miguel.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, we got to cut that out.
whoa.
Right?
Oh, she's God. Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
right.
shit.
Yeah, hey, God. What's up?
I'll bleep it.
What's up, God?
Oh, yeah. I'll bleep it.
What's good, guy? What's good, G?
Okay, I just wanted to hop on the Hi Miguel train because I was left out. Okay, go.
Okay, so very similar actually to what Danny said is Quiet Place Part 1. So to be clear, because I would argue they do not end on a great note in that one, but it's also a family story. Right from the start, you can tell it's a family story. The scenes don't require anything crazy. They do it with the most simplest scenes. It also scares the hell out of you, and you literally in the theater, you fear. Like you sit there and you're hearing anybody breathe, and it's already scary. But let me get back on track here. So for the fear factor, they start off with they're going through the town. They're going to finding supplies, and they're on their way back, and the kid gets absolutely massacred by one of the creatures because he sets off a toy and the sound goes off and they know he's there. And it's their son. I mean, this is part of the family. They're setting up the family arc of the movie. And at the same time, it also, you're scared to even speak while the movie is playing because at any second you almost think their creature's going to jump out and get you in the theaters. The family arc also continues through the entire thing. They teach their kids how to survive in this world. They have to teach them how to do ASL. The wife is pregnant with a child, which gives you anxiety throughout the entire film because you're like, when is she going to have this kid? And when she does, how in God's name are they going to be able to have this kid and survive?
30 seconds.
I am not ready for 30 more seconds. Anyways, the setting itself is very neutral. And what I mean by that is like, it doesn't require anything extra. It's exactly how you would expect it now. Coming from a very technical background, that's kind of how my brain works. I'm more in favor of horror films that I feel like could actually happen. And this is, I think, Krasinski, I think that's how you say his name. He mentioned that the creatures actually came from a meteorite, and that's how everything started. So this is something that, like, potentially could make yourself believe this could happen.
Good ending. I like that you guys are finishing early. It makes my job a lot easier.
That's what all women say.
Never!
It wasn't much earlier. It was 5 seconds. Let's be real.
Those 5 seconds can really make a difference.
God, we gotta stop this.
It's like every time.
So are not.
I love that this is continuing. All right, guys. John, you're up, I think.
So my choice was...
Oh, hold on. We didn't say go. God didn't say go.
You can go. I'm sorry, Dan's an asshole.
Agreed. So my movie is Halloween 2018 specifically. My thing is with horror movies, yes, you want that horror element, but you don't want that to sacrifice an overall good plot. And that's the issue with these two picks. I say Quiet Place is a good plot, not a lot of horror. I say Hereditary is good horror, not good plot. And we'll go more into that during the open debate. With Halloween, you have new elements that revived or revitalized and freshed the franchise. You know, the main character having PTSD, that's not really seen much in horror movies in general. So bringing that new element really refreshed everything. And Halloween had a good mix of having a plot that made sense, not crazy, not over in depth, but not many plot holes, as well as having good horror elements. So this movie, again, we'll get more into everything down the line, but this movie, I would say, not only revived, I should say, the franchise, it also brought back the classic horror movie genre to a new generation. I think that speaks volumes to the amount of horror that is in the movie, as well as not being like, oh, the car engine didn't work. Those classic things in horror movies that make you immediately take you out of the movie. I would say Halloween is one of, if not the best horror movies out there right now.
Oh, is that it?
Oh, yeah, no, that's it. That's all I need.
Huh.
That's not something to brag
Insert
about.
sex joke here.
Yeah. I already made one, so I can't.
Listen, if you get the job done, that's
Don't
all
want
that
to
matters.
oversaturate the market. You know?
Please.
You're making her cry over here. All right.
Also happens every time.
It's against
Hey, she's
God's
here.
will.
Thank God.
Wait, she's on camera for once?
We had signing on God.
Yeah. Yeah, for a second. Okay. Anyway, moving on to Danny's rebuttal to both of those. Hold on, I gotta set this timer here. All right. Whenever you're
God
ready.
would have been prepared.
Hey.
What are you going to say?
Hey.
That's it.
Hayes for horses.
Okay, go.
All right. Quiet Place. You mentioned the whole be quiet experience. That's only the theater experience, though. It doesn't really apply to when you're watching at home. You're not inclined to do that. That's the only gimmick that the movie has. Halloween, I don't even think is the best movie of that year, which is Hereditary. It's also 2018. You said it revitalized the slasher genre. Not really, because that's the only franchise that's currently running. They can't get Nightmare on Elm Street off the ground. They can't get Friday the 13th off the ground. Those are the two other ones that we loved back in the 80s, but now it's just not there. So I don't think it created a movement as much as Hereditary did with elevated horror. You got the Babadook, you got Men, you got other ones. I'm blanking on that one. But what's the story there? It's just to retread the original. Laurie's running away from Michael.
30 seconds.
And it's just we've seen it before. A Quiet Place. I feel it's like it's made to be like a generic kind of mainstream, not stepping on anyone's toes kind of horror movie where like everyone can get into it, but it's not like it doesn't really say much other than just be quiet and like we have a new creature involved. You know, it's like a generic creature. It's not even an iconic horror movie villain. Like now I know what payment is. I know about paganism, and like that's what Hereditary did for like introducing Satanism back into the horror movie.
Finish your sentence because I feel bad interrupting you.
Sorry.
Okay, well, I interrupted you and then we ended anyway.
We're good.
I don't like being on time because I always give you guys an extra like 10 seconds if you're still talking because I'm like, well, I want you to finish the sentence because you're doing a point. But at least I give everybody the extra time, and some of you guys just don't like to use it.
Sorry.
I wasn't looking at you. I was actually looking at this one right here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But it's not his turn, so last.
I'm not in trouble for once. Cool.
Miguel, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Hold on. God is fucking with my switcher over here.
I was just trying to make a point.
That's fine.
I think we're good, right? It's on me right now, right?
Miguel, go ahead.
Okay. So Quiet Place, you said it's only gimmick, which is true. I personally love that. I don't like the gimmicky stuff. I like it to feel like this could happen. I want to actually be scared. And maybe that's just me because I don't get terribly scared from movies like Hereditary, and I have not seen Halloween, so I can't say too much on that. But the story in A Quiet Place Part 2 brings up so many different things. I mean, you said that it's rather quiet, and it's like, well, yes, that would be true. They literally can't speak, and the only moment they could speak was the waterfall scene, because it was obviously what they sound with the waterfall. They also had pronounced actors in Quiet Place. I mean, John Krasinski. I forgot. I looked up the other woman's name.
Emily Blunt.
Right, and she's in a few things, and she did fantastic as well. Again, you said it was mainstream, but mainstream doesn't mean it's bad. I don't like that. That's kind of where I feel like that argument went, because it was still an amazing movie, and the creatures didn't have to be in a classic 1980s creature or anything like that. It's
30
completely
seconds.
new, which is great. I personally want new. A Quiet Place. I was one scene I was trying to remember here. I'm like totally blanking right now. Oh man. Anyways, I don't agree that it won't have the same effect at home. If you're watching this on a Friday night and you're especially late at night, if you're watching it during the day, I can agree with that. But if you're watching it late at night and you're sitting on the couch and whatnot, even when I'm playing video games, I get scared if it's like a horror game. So I don't agree with that statement at all.
And we'll wrap it up there. Nice and easy. I don't have to interrupt this one because he knows his limit. This is where Dan is supposed to step in, and then he didn't say anything. I got uncomfortable.
You can talk to. You can introduce him.
No, it's okay.
This would be better if we
Alright,
had two mics, but I'm sorry.
He's not my friend.
It's okay. All right, John, it's your time.
So with The Quiet Place, it is literally just one thing. It is literally the fact that it's a silent movie. If you take that out, you have nothing. And the horror alone, there's not really any horror in The Quiet Place. I would argue we'll go more into it. The first scene that you brought up, I feel like could have been done better if they didn't even show the alien. They kind of went more like a Jaws route, which we'll go into. With Hereditary, again, yeah, you mentioned paganism. That's not the first time, Satanism has been brought in movies. That was probably, the first villain, I would say, in horror movies. So I would argue that didn't really revitalize anything. They just want to talk about treading something, that's treading something, going into Satanism or whatever. Was he like the Antichrist or whatever he is? But that's an old hat. And a lot of the horror, I would say, goes so far is that it starts to become like funny. Like when you have the mom hiding up on the ceiling, just kind of like a weird bat thing. That was hilarious. I laughed at that. When Peter's just bashing his head on the desk for like 20 minutes straight, I laughed at that. Horror is a very fine
seconds.
line. And I feel like Hereditary goes way too far to the point of where it's comical. And I would say Quiet Place doesn't even touch it. And I would say that Halloween is right in that middle spot. You have the mannequin scene, which I would argue is probably the scariest scene out of all three of these movies. The babysitter scene where they build tension, it's at that neighbor's house, I would say is also a scary scene. So it's right in that middle of like, it's not too scary to the point of where you're just laughing at it because it's so absurd, but it also does put tension and makes you sit on the edge of your seat.
Cool. Good. Nice. Dan talk.
All right. We are moving on to our final round here, and it is time for everyone to just go ham.
Upgraded from bologna.
Ham and cheese.
Oh,
Sandwiches.
I'm more of
Ham
a
and
turkey guy
cheese.
myself.
See, I'm a grilled, or I'm like a chicken
grilled
sliced
cheese
chicken guy.
Chicken
Yeah.
slice is good.
Yeah. What'd you say?
You said you're a grilled cheese guy?
I am a grilled cheese guy. Yeah.
I mean, I
Who
can't,
isn't a grilled cheese guy? Come on.
that's fair.
All right, guys, you're gonna be judged by God here, so we're gonna go
We're
off.
always judged by God.
Oh my God! All right.
John's just so disappointed.
I will clarify going into this right now. It's a free for all. I have absolutely no clue where I'm going. So this is your moment to be scrappy and somebody convince me of anything. Because right now I got nothing. Have fun.
All right. I guess I'll start because I haven't had a moment to speak in a little bit.
Self-centered.
You feel every bit of. What'd you say?
I said self-centered.
I am a little bit. I'll admit. You feel every bit of terror and every bit of heart-wrenching pain that these characters go through. And you said the mannequin scene was the most horrific scene out of all of these. You're forgetting the beheading scene where she's like, that's fucking terrifying. Plus the telephone pole scene.
I laughed at that.
See, I laughed at that too.
I actually said,
I
literally,
found that very
If we're talking about comedy in horror,
my words, Danny.
Halloween
was,
2018.
I hope she's okay. When that happened.
Just put a band-aid on
she's
it, she'll be
beheaded.
fine.
She's
Walk it off.
fucking gone. And then cutting to that scene like the next day where she's rotting with all the ants
See,
on
that
her
just
and
made me feel
crap.
uncomfortable. They didn't feel like
Right.
scary.
There's disturbing imagery. I'll give you that. But as a whole, like I said, I was taken so far out of it because of how absurd the plot was. It's basically, the joke about how in Dark Knight the Joker's plan had to be insane. That's what this movie is. The cultists have to ensure that the daughter decides to go to the party. She eats the cake. The cake has peanuts in it in general. She then sticks her head out the window. Peter veers right instead of left to the telephone pole. It's so many elements that these cultists need to have it be exactly where it needs to be. It's like I was thinking this is absurd. I was like, it took me completely out of the movie.
That was exactly what I was trying to make the point with A Quiet Place when I lost my train of thought, because Quiet Place, I'm, again, more of a person who would rather have a realistic horror movie. I don't want to have the fake nonsense like that because I don't buy it. It doesn't make me buy it.
But there's no horror in your movie.
I mean, when you're sitting at the very end
There's no
and she's
horror.
holding that shotgun and you're
That's not
waiting,
horror, that's
waiting, and
action.
waiting.
That's just that's just
action.
teasing you for
See,
what's
you
going to
literally
happen
get, like,
next.
these
horror.
action
Is horror
movie
scary or
end
not?
A horror movie's objective is to scare the audience.
That was terrifying. Sitting there waiting,
Watching her cock a shotgun?
Yeah.
No.
How
The
far back
tension
at
and
the ending are we
anxiety that
talking
you
about?
create when you have that scene and you're sitting there and hearing it, trying to pick apart and getting into the house, and worried for all these children she has to protect.
But first off, I hated the kids. They were all stupid. Or at least the son was.
They had to learn ASL. Do you know ASL?
No, I'm not talking about.
Oh, but the actors
I'm not,
are
the actors
good on
cool
them,
or whatever.
but-
I'm talking about the characters themselves, and that actually leads into my point. All scary parts, or quote unquote scary parts in your movie, had to be force fed by an element in the movie. So when Emily Blunt's character has to give birth, but she gives alert to the alien because she stabbed her toe with a nail. They spent a solid 3-second scene just panning onto the nail as she ripped it off from the wood panel. So that's your first element gone. Then the second element, when the alien comes into the basement where all the water is, you had to just add the fact that there was like a water flood that John Krasinski's character just ignored to go find his
Forgot
son.
about that. That's fucking dumb.
Yeah, it's just a pipe is just having so much water come out. He's like, I don't even notice that. I'm just going to go into the woods. So that's the second, as it's like swimming through the water, that second tension built scene is produced by another unnecessary element that again takes you out of the movie because you're like, hey, you're not going to fix that? Okay. And then the final scene is the corn scene. Like they're in the cornfield and the kids are in the car and John Krasinski has an axe. There we go.
There you
That's
go.
the word. Sorry. So
He's got an ass.
he's got
Sure it does.
That's not America's ass. But so that tension is only built when the dumb kid just yells "dad" as loud as he possibly can to alert the alien. So all the quote unquote scary parts of your movie are brought in by some like basically dumb, I would say, plot devices. So, and again, that's my issue. There's
Horror movies have plot devices. I mean, I would say that's probably the most simplistic horror movie for plot devices.
Stupid, but terrible. You're telling me
Why is it stupid and terrible?
Okay, let's go with the nail scene first. Okay. So the nail comes up. She sees the nails up. We zoom in for a solid minute, so you know it's going to come back later. And then she's
I will admit you're exaggerating slightly on the timings here.
It's an extended period of time.
Okay,
it's way longer. It's definitely
it is longer.
A force-fed. Hey, this will be important later.
Well, you keep to keep it in remember.
But you're telling me Emily Blunt's character would not be like, "Hey, I should fix that."
During those kind of moments. I mean, I don't know.
She
I don't
was
think
doing
straight
laundry
all the time.
What moment was happening?
Have you never set something down when like your phone, set it down, like I'll get to that, and then
this is a nail sticking out of a floorboard. That's way more important than my phone.
I can promise you, people don't fix this stuff immediately. I mean, just look at people's tenants' houses.
It's still not so say she finishes the laundry, an hour, maybe 2 hours, because it's old school with the water. Mm-hmm. If there's a nail sticking out of a floorboard and you have children running around, you absolutely have to fix that first. And then the whole water pipe scene, your house is about to get flooded and you don't notice it. Like, there's just so much stuff that the only way they were able to get any tension in the movie was by these plot devices that were unnaturally put in, and you have to ignore any logic to get to it.
I feel like if you're trying to ignore logic, that's a lot of horror movies that you're just totally dismissing.
Not Halloween.
I will argue much Halloween.
What
Michael,
logic is being evolved?
The screenwriter is so embarrassingly trying to steer Michael into confronting Laurie. There's so much stuff that happens just so he can break out.
Give me an example.
They bring the mask to him because the screenwriter wants him to have a killing spree. That's so the movie starts. That's right. Contrived. Mm-hmm. He breaks out, and the movie would just be him killing random people in the neighborhood unless the doctor shows up and turns the whole plot because he's fascinated by Michael being a psychopath. So he stabs the sheriff and drives Michael to Laurie's house. The movie's so confused on what the story wants to be. It's like, we want it to be about Michael being the essence of evil and killing anyone, but we also want it to be Laurie be the main victim because we want to pay homage to 40 years later, but it just doesn't work because they erased the only connection that he had with Laurie in Halloween 2 where they were brother and sister. Now in this one, they're not brother and sister anymore. That was a stupid
connection though. And that had to be retconned. That was a dumb connection. And that wasn't even the second movie. But that was like Halloween 20, wasn't it?
It's Halloween 2.
Was it 2 or was it H2O?
It was 2 and then they followed it up with H2O.
Okay. But yeah, you don't need that connection. And I would argue he broke out because Laurie's character, or Laurie, broke him out because she wanted him free so she could kill him. That's
headcanon. It's not explicitly told.
No, that's a theory, right? No, and I agree with you. But I'm saying that would be the argument for how do you even get out?
Yeah.
And
okay. But in the movie kind of telegraphs it that it's the doctor because he's on.
That would also work. But again, we're talking about
contrived. The doctor is he's such a dumb he's just such a dumb twist.
But that's realistic though. There are women that someone married Charles Manson after he got out of prison or while still in prison. There are any murderer, psychopath, there are a fan base. As weird as it is, that's a thing. So a doctor who spends all of his time with him, and this is his field, he's genuinely in awe of Michael because his whole theory is there is just evil. Normally, something happened and then maybe there's a way to rehabilitate him. This doctor's no, there's just evil, and he's a perfect example. So that's why he likes Michael, and that's why he is so adamant of just letting him go and be free because he wants to study him. And like I said, if you want to talk about, again, even though we're talking about quote-unquote plot holes, I feel like that's more explainable and more understandable than anything in Quiet Place. There's no
simple mistakes in Quiet Place, though. This isn't crazy out-of-the-box things. The one thing with Hereditary is that everything has to be set up as well. I mean, in almost every movie, it's like I agree.
That. If we're talking about contrived, they all have contrivances. Right, I just think Halloween specifically has way more.
I think Quiet Place is the most simplest ones and the one that has the least amount of
But
complex
again, there's
plot
no
devices.
horror in that movie. I know. I feel
it
like
relies on jump scares only. That's what
I see. I don't agree because there's the anxiety and the tension that you're feeling throughout the entire movie.
But I feel
You can say the same thing about Hereditary.
I laughed during Hereditary. So.
As did I.
So that,
Okay, if we're talking about laughter, your fucking Julian kid, who's
Which one?
like Julian, you know, the little black kid. He's like when it like
Oh yeah, he was funny. That was his point. He was,
but completely took me out of the scene once. Like the babysitter, I forgot her name, Vicky, I think, was getting stabbed. He's like, help me, and then he's like, oh shit, and you're like, I gotta cut my toenails and shit. I'm like, come on, it took me right out, and it's that was so stupid. And then like you have fucking what's his name, Oscar, who's like
Grouch.
well,
He was in the movie?
He's
I
a
didn't
Grouch
know.
in the movie, but he's the little nerd kid with the Dracula cape. He's like,
oh yeah, the simp guy.
yeah, the simp guy. He's just telling jokes as he's dying. He's like, sorry, I didn't, you know, it's so Danny McBride comedy that it's just thrown in there when it's supposed to be scary. And I think you can say that it's so surreal and overdone in Hereditary, but you can't. But they weren't explicitly trying to tell a joke. They were telling a horrific moment with the mother beheading herself, the daughter getting decapitated by the telephone pole, and then her throwing the book in the fire, and then the husband burning up.
That made no sense because when it first happened, she threw the book in the fire and she combusted. She throws the book again a second time and he combusts. How does that happen? I was like, why is he dying?
They were cursed. That's the whole thing. They were
Right, but
cursed
if
by
you're
payment.
but if you're deliberately using an element to cause a death, like that's like
She didn't think it would kill him. She
But
just wanted to get rid of the book.
No, what I'm saying
goes back to
from
the writing, though. Like,
that's what I'm saying from
he's
the
not talking
writing
about in
standpoint.
this
So
story.
something similar to that would be is if someone had a gun and shot it somehow shot the person shooting the gun. If the movie or the writers deliberately say, "Hey, you throw this book in the fire, you're going to catch fire," and then we do it again, and they're like, "Okay, no, we were kidding. Now that guy's going to catch fire." That makes no sense.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So there's one scene in the beginning when she tries to throw the book into the
no, and then
fire.
it doesn't burn.
But she catches fire. Her sleeves catches fire, and she puts it out, and then she takes the book out of the fire. So then the second time around, she's trying to convince the husband, like, "Oh, please, believe me, you have to throw this book in the fire. You have to do it." And then he's like, "No, you're fucking nuts. What are you talking about?" And so she just says, "Screw it," and throws it in herself. And then the husband catches fire, who is just a dude in this situation. He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, he's just hanging out. But
But that's what I'm saying. If you want to talk about, true horror or whatever.
the
scene
ants
took me
coming
out
out
of
of the fucking, like when she's daydreaming and then she's like, just hearing the stories
But
about.
you know it's a dream, though.
I didn't know it was a dream when she's like starts all of a sudden she's doused in gasoline and there's fucking ants crawling out of his face and then he's like I don't know. Maybe it's because I've had like weird nightmare dreams like that before where like, or I've talked in my sleep where I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I clicked with that, where I'm like, oh shit, like she doesn't know what she's doing. And she almost burnt her son alive. And I'm thinking that's fucking crazy. And like, that's such a horrific thing to think about. And for them to pull it off in the way they did, it was just, really horrifying, terrifying, and Quiet Place, it just doesn't reach those heights of horror for me.
I feel like
I don't think it needs it because it's
It does. It's a horror
the
movie.
entire movie. Well, yes, but the entire movie, you're scared. There is no scene like in Hereditary where it's like you're just totally out of it. There's no scene like you were talking about Halloween where you're out of it. The entire movie, you're sick, you're watching, you're paying attention.
I'd
because
argue-
the tension is constantly.
I would argue
going.
there's several
And
points where I'm out of it.
There's a few. Well, maybe for you, but I would say generally speaking, the entire theater when I was in there was quiet.
The
I know you said
theater, though. It's the theater
Theater
experience.
experience, great.
Yeah.
But that's still a great sample set for how the movie is. When the entire theater is quiet and listening the entire time, hardly any chomping, there is no sound. You can't even hear a pin drop because everyone is intensely in it. And the only time you actually felt some relief, they immediately would, maybe not immediately, but they would take it away relatively soon, like the waterfall and all that. Something bad would happen. And unlike what you said earlier, I would argue Quiet Place, at least part one, did not end on a great note. When he has to sit there and sacrifice himself for his family, which it kind of leads to my next point is, the family values that come out of this movie, the idea that the movie like was kind of like a pseudo kind of like a example of how today's society is, where we can't speak because if we speak, we're going to be destroyed. The stuff that comes out of this movie and the entire time you just feel scared. There is no getting taken out of it. Maybe for you were taken out of it at certain points.
Well, here's my thing. I would argue the movie would have been a lot scarier because you brought this up. The first scene where the kid gets killed, they showed their hand too soon. You see what the alien looks like.
Not really.
You do. You get a clear shot. He's got the wing.
I disagree completely.
Weird. He's got the weird forearm.
You
things.
see a blurb, and that blurb makes you think. And when you think the worst, because that's how humans.
But
are.
you still get
so
a
the
good
entire movie. You're thinking, how does this creature look?
Well, let me propose something to you because I argue they editing screwed up because you definitely get a good shot of what it looks like. Because it's literally it's like an overshot of John Krasinski pointing towards the kid. I would argue because it then cuts to a shot where it's John Krasinski is running towards the camera. It's like the POV of the kid essentially. I argue they should have kept that shot longer. Got rid of the over the shadow shot or over the shoulder shot where you see the alien. You just keep the POV shot and then you just see the blur. I would argue that because then you start getting to like the more Jaws-esque, like I don't know what he looks like, but you already know what they look like.
I don't think so. I remember watching that, explicitly remembering not getting a good enough view and not understanding how it looks like, and my mind going crazy on what in the hell is going on.
You need to get your eyes checked, I think.
No, I disagree with that.
I think you need to go to an eye doctor. What are those guys called? Optometrists? Yeah, optometrist. Because it is clear. you get a full body shot.
Okay.
You see his whole frame and everything. So I would argue the basement scene would be scarier, and I believe it would have even more tension because when it comes up from the water, that should have been like the pinnacle. Like this is what it looks like.
For me, that kind of was.
So get your eyes checked, pal.
Okay.
Because I would argue, I'm sure we could pull up a frame or even the clip, and you can see it clear as day.
You can see a blurb of it, yes.
No, it's more than just a blur. You see the full body, its head shape.
You see a whole body, but it's on screen for like 3 frames.
It literally goes like this. Like you can hardly see it.
As heart wrenching as that scene is, with the little boy getting taken, doesn't match the heart wrenching wail that Toni Collette lets out in Hereditary, where she's like, "I just want my daughter back," and it's off screen, and like you just see the horror in Alex Wolff's performance. It's haunting.
I don't know. The when he's sitting at the end and he's like, "I love you" in ASL, and then absolutely just dies.
That's heartwarming. It's not heart wrenching.
Yeah.
Watching him die.
Because it's like,
that's his family. That's somebody's dad that they no longer will ever have ever again.
There.
I've seen it done better in a bunch of different movies.
It might be done
with the
better. That doesn't
sacrificing.
mean it takes away from the moment, though.
But I feel like we've harped enough on Quiet Place. I feel like we need to put more pressure on Hereditary. Okay. So my issue with Hereditary is another issue with the plot is that the whole point of everything happening to this family is so that Peter is so down that he is basically at the weakest point where Antichrist. What was his name again? Pilgrim. Payman. Yeah. Yep. Pilgrim.
Close enough.
Close enough. But so he's so weak to the point of where he's available to get taken over. I would argue that happened right as soon as the daughter died. Like he's already blaming himself for her death. He's already crying. I feel like emotionally he was ready to go. So the next hour,
watching an even bigger descent because his mom turns on him and then beheads herself in front of him. So not only being the cause of your sister's death, but watching your mom blame you the entire time,
right,
and then kill herself in front of you, and your dad burns up as well.
Again, just a side note that the dad just caught on fire.
He's not important really to the story.
Right, he's not important to the story.
What's important is the performances of Toni and Alex. They're the pillars of that movie, and they pull it off so friggin' well. The Michael Myers is an aging 60-year-old man. He doesn't even embody the essence of evil that he was supposed to in the original. He's an aging 60-year-old man. It doesn't add
how old is this pagan god? If we're gonna
pagan is immortal.
Exactly. How do we know he's not?
He's immortal.
You're right. Michael is immortal. He's
not. He's aging. You see him graying, and plus you see his face, which is kind of the number one rule that you don't do in Halloween.
When do we see his face?
You see his face in the toilet or like in the gas station scene. You see it.
I might not be the only one.
You see like a side profile. What?
You might, because I don't remember this at all. A full face shot. We get a full face shot of this.
It's a full face shot for like it's similar to the
Daniel Son. I need a fact check on that. Can you pull up an image? There's no way they show us full.
It's out of focus, but you see the features. So you can get it's like how they did the Joker scene in the Batman.
We're not going to do anything.
Like on the You know how
Okay,
they
so-
show different shots, different parts of his face.
Okay, so the
You can
same
piece
so the
it
same
together.
way he's saying, "Oh, the alien shot is not. You can't really see."
Well, you see the full alien later on.
yeah,
in that
but
one.
I'm saying deliberately. He's saying, "Oh, it's only 3 frames," and you're saying, "Oh, it's only 3 frames." So how long is this?
Well, I'm
shot?
just saying you don't do that with Michael Myers. You
But
don't
you
even
get a full face shot.
Everyone, I hated the fucking when they did it in the original too. It's just a thing you don't do with horror movie villains. Nobody likes that.
All right. We've been going for like at least probably 15, 20 minutes here. If I'm being honest, I haven't been timing
really?
you guys. Oh yeah, you've been going off, which has been helpful
High five, guys.
because we needed that.
Your hands are cold.
My hands are always cold. Cold.
We're gonna go. We're gonna go back
yeah.
to a quick little cutscene, a little outro of Danny doing some singing to keep us entertained because we have to discuss again.
You guys keep each other's hands warm. Okay. God and I have returned.
What's your horror film, Dan?
Hey!
No, that's a good question.
Yeah,
That
I
is
wonder
an-
what
he
if
has
you were
the- that is
debating
the
You were
office shirt
able
on.
to
So-
debate Daniel.
The Conjuring
Daniel's
Part
song.
2.
Conjuring
I did
Part
like
2.
Conjuring. Okay.
Heavy jump scares. Heavy jump scares.
Heavy jump scares, but also really good.
A good plot.
A really good plot.
Yeah.
I'm in it for the narrative.
Yeah,
For the most
Yeah.
part.
That's me too, which is why I have a little bit of issue.
Yeah.
With Hereditary.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I think
You got if you
I'm pre-
literally lay everything out, it's impossible. 'Cause it's like it's insane. Like you think Joker shit is crazy? Like first off, we have to the cult has to plan.
We're done arguing.
No, I'm just making the statement again. The cult has to plan for a high school party, plan that the mother is going to make the son bring the daughter, plan that they made a cake, plan that they put nuts in the cake, which who puts nuts in cakes?
These nuts.
I want this off the record. I don't want this argument.
then
on
they
the
No,
will-
record.
this is actually perfect. Johnny, I'm going to cut you off,
That's
but
fine.
I'm going
Go
to
ahead.
go off of you by starting right here that Hereditary is not the winner in this instance. And I'm going to
Let's
make
go,
one
babe.
very strong point in that me being God and
You were
God being right,
terrified.
and sometimes God is allowed to be a little biased again, Hereditary is too scary. I think
The
there's-
object is that it's
no,
scary.
okay, but what I'm saying is, I think it's just there are too many things going on in Hereditary where some of these things are so crazy that it just pulls you out of the movie, and it's like I can't sit here and enjoy. Like, sure, it's a family drama first, but I can't enjoy that because I'm sitting here shitting my fucking pants, and I don't enjoy it. Like, I'm not here
You
for
bring
that.
extra
Like,
pants.
So you're saying there's a threshold of horror.
I didn't.
there's
I wasn't
too
thinking about it
much,
that
and
way.
Hereditary was while Hereditary's good and great, Hereditary is too much, and it's there's a fine line between being a good horror movie, being scary, having a good story, and being too much and then not being scary at all. Which I think, on the other hand, I don't think Halloween was scary at all. Which is why I'm also saying that Halloween is not the winner here. Well, I think Halloween's a good story, and so Dan and I were talking about this during the episode here. I think that all of these this was a very hard choice again. Like, we're both standing back there and I'm like, I don't know where to go. I'm sitting here like, Dan, you need to make this decision for me. I don't know what to say. I've kind of got nothing here. All 3 of these movies I feel like did leaps and bounds for like what kind of needed to happen at the time. The Halloween franchise definitely needed a reboot that was good and not something that was just kind of shitty garbage like the Rob Zombie, and I think like Halloween 2.0 was whatever. Danny, I hope you're proud of me for saying that.
H2O?
I have never loved you more.
Cool, good.
That's a beautiful movie.
Halloween 2018, great. It gave this franchise a breath of fresh air and just some new life that it needed, but I don't think it was really scary enough. So while it's a great Halloween movie, I don't think it's a good horror movie. And Hereditary, on the other hand, I feel like brought A24 more mainstream than I think they were before. It was really, really good. It's not my favorite A24 film, but that's not why we're here. But again, I think it is.
Take it easy.
Is it the
I
witch?
think it's
Whiplash.
Oh, true.
that's A24.
I'm pretty sure the
Yeah.
witch is.
Oh, I was gonna say Midsummer, but okay.
Okay.
Wait, you liked Midsummer?
Yeah, I know. Shut up. Ha 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 ha.
I'm not ha-haing. I'm genuinely terrified for you.
It was. I don't know. Anyway,
Terrified for
back
me.
to where we were.
No, are you okay? More, are you okay? No, haha.
Hereditary. Just it pulled me out of it because I couldn't sit there and enjoy anything because I just kind of sat there wanting to die. So while some people they get the adrenaline rush and they get off on that, I'm here to sit there and enjoy a movie. And a movie that I sat there and I peacefully and quietly enjoyed very much so was A Quiet Place. So Good job.
I don't know about describing it as peacefully, but that's okay. That's okay.
I mean, I'm just trying to make a nod
No,
to
you're
how
good.
the theater was quiet. It was really good, and it was really nice seeing how. I mean, I thought the movie was fucking terrifying. It was great, and I was so. Everybody in the theater and everybody who saw it was so invested in it because you're just sitting there on the edge of your seat the whole time, like holding your breath while you're watching the movie because you don't want to make a wrong move. And it's really interesting seeing a movie do that now because it's like, well, when Danny brought up how, Toni Collette, she had this just terrifying wail, you know, when like it was when the daughter died, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
I get that, but also A Quiet Place made me feel that emotion and more without saying a thing. And that is kind of what put the nail in the foot for me in this instance.
Ooh. Ooh.
She doesn't like that
I
either.
tried my best. It's okay. You all can go to
God
hell.
is terrible at jokes. Cannon.
I'm already there. All right, guys. Looks like we wrapped up another successful duel of the debates.
Dan, who was your choice?
I already said what it was. Conjuring 2.
No.
No, like who's out of us?
No.
Oh, my choice? Miguel as well.
Oh shit! Really?
Shit.
No, I picked Miguel.
I felt like I was defending myself the whole time.
We
and not
didn't hit
actually
him
making,
enough.
Like enough.
I thought we hit him plenty.
Yeah, me too.
Actually, no, I'm going to loop back to that while we're here.
You're changing
I hit
your
the
answer.
mic. No, I'm not at all. That is something
alright.
that Dan and I spoke about a lot, is how you guys argued in this episode. Because I feel like Miguel argued for himself the most.
Yeah, because we were
And
attacking him the most.
And
Yeah, 'cause
my
it's
biggest
not-
thing, honestly, John, why I didn't pick you was because you spent so long just harping on everybody else. And I think more so you were trying to make the other movies look bad rather than make yours look good.
That's a good point.
that was me with Spider-Man.
That's a good point.
I was trying to just get to Danny and peg it down a little bit when I did Spider-Man.
You want to peg
You
Danny?
just trying to peg me?
Hey,
No, this is John. This is an
Well,
inside
somebody
joke.
has to, because I
Byron.
won't.
No, I wanted this for
I don't
this.
want it
John,
to
this is
happen.
an inside
It won't
joke.
be me either. We've seen it before. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok with the handle at Seen It Beforecast. That's SCENE, It Beforecast. And on Twitter with the handle SIB_pod. I'm Dan.
I'm Danny. You can find me on Instagram at Danny_Was, my letterboxd at DJ Was, or my YouTube channel, which is just Danny Was. Miguel, do you have anything?
Yes, I have a YouTube channel, Line Blaze 321, which Twitter and Instagram the exact same thing, and I also have a personal, obviously Instagram and Twitter, all at Miguel Music 6.
Cool.
I'm John. I don't have anything. I'm a weirdo like that.
Not a weirdo.
Totally cool.
Totally cool. I had fun. You know, just love debating movies. Hopefully, I'm back on soon.
Yeah. Maybe you'll win.
Maybe you'll be on
Maybe.
the actual
Maybe.
podcast this time around next time.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Maybe.
But until then, it's been an honor. See you next time.